Hi guys and welcome to my art studio. My name is Miriam. Today we are going to paint this pretty magnolia painting. It's springtime, so I thought we should paint some spring trees. I'm using a size A5 piece of paper to measure out the square in the middle. And then I take my ruler just to check if the square is in the middle of the paper. This is a nice and easy way to get your square in the middle. And here you can see the sketch for the painting we are going to make today. And now I'm going to test out some colors to see how they look. And I have this smaller piece of paper that I use to put some colors on and see if they look like I want them to. So I'm both testing the colors in very diluted with water, but also very strong, because the flowers we're going to paint are going from very light pink to very dark pink. So this is a good idea to get to know your colors before you start the painting. But of course, if you're very practiced and you know how the colors look, you can just go ahead and begin the painting. And here you can see the names of the colors we are going to use today. And these are a selection of brushes that I'm going to use from size 6 and down to a size 2, I believe it is. And they are round brushes. And we're also going to use some white ink pens after we have made the painting. But let's get started. To begin with, I wet the petal that I'm going to paint. I would like to paint the petal wet in wet. And this will help not to get too many hard edges, and also the colors will flow very nicely together. And I start at the bottom of the leaf or the petal with the strongest color, and then I'm going to drag out the color into the leaf or the petal. Excuse me, I want it to be a leaf, but it's called a petal. And yeah, I'm dragging the color out because it's a very light pink color on the outer end of the petal, and it's darker towards the middle of the petal. And then I'm just building up the painting and making sure that the edge to the next petal is very visible, so I go in and put some color there. And we also have some shadow areas on this leaf, so I'm painting that in as well, working wet in wet so that everything will flow nicely together. And you can always clean your brush and help the paint blend better on the paper if you feel like it's not blending well enough. And now I'm picking up some darker alizarin crimson color. The first color we used was quinacridone magenta. And I drop the color in at the bottom of the petal, and then again I drag out the color into the petal. And I'm just showing you this in real time and the whole thing, so you can get an idea of how you paint these petals. And I'm still working wet in wet and slowly building up the petal layer by layer and just getting it right. And once in a while I cleanse my brush, and as I did here, and now I'm going to work on the next petal. But I make sure that there's a space between this and the other petal so that they won't touch each other, because if the other petal is wet, the colors will begin to blend together, and I don't want that. I want there to be hard edges on the outer edges of the petals, and I want the colors to flow together inside the petal. And now I just sped up the video a little bit so we won't take too long, but you are allowed to see how I do things. And I'm taking my time with it, just enjoying the moment and the painting. And yeah, it's important to leave out certain areas of the petal where the color is lighter. And it's also important to have areas where the color is quite dark. And while these two petals are drying, I can work on the other flower. And I do the same as before. I wet the area where I'm going to drop in paint. And then I begin to drop in the quinacridone magenta. And slowly building up the petal. I don't know about you, but I just love these trees. I think they're so beautiful here in the spring, and you can get them in so many colors, or not so many colors, but they go from very, very pale pink into very strong pink colors, and I think they're so beautiful. We actually got a few of those trees in the garden, so I'm quite happy about that. Last in the video, I have filmed our garden, so if you're interested in seeing my spring garden, I've put a few clips last in the video. And now let's continue with the first flower. Now the two petals are dry and I can begin to work on the petal in the middle of the flower. Now I'm just painting that with a very, very watery mix of the quinacridone magenta. And there are some petals on the flower that's almost white because the light is hitting them. And I will just leave them for now and come back later because they do have some shadow areas, but I will show that later in the video. For now, I'm just continue to work with the pink colors, and yeah, we'll come back to the rest. And the other petals on the second flower is dry as well, so I can work on the middle part of the flower. And now I've also painted in the third flower. Now I'm picking up my size 2 brush and I'm just mixing some colors in my mixing tray because I want to control how much color I got in and how thick the paint is. And then I'm going to paint in some line work on the flowers just to give them some definition. And I'm using my size 2 brush and it's a nice pointy brush. Yeah, and then I go in and I rinse my brush and then I go in with some clean water to make the paint flow together and soften the edges. But not on all the lines I make. The middle one I just leave as it is. And here I've wet the area a little bit, and then I go in with some paint as well. And yeah, you can see the finished painting here, so it will give you an idea of how the flower is going to look. And now we're going to work on the leaves. And I have wet the leaf first, and then I'm going in with the olive green. And I'm just making sure that we have some light areas on the leaf and some darker areas on the leaf. That will make it look more natural. So you can also put the paint on and then lift some off with a clean damp brush and just work your way through the leaf like that. And I normally wet the leaf and then I put in the paint along the edges, and then I allow the paint to flow together. That gives a very nice effect, and you will have some areas where the leaf is lighter than other areas. And now I'm mixing up some of the burnt umber because we're going to paint in the branches where the flowers are hanging on. And I'm starting here at the first flower. There's a little bud sitting here, and then we have an area that's quite light, so I'm just jumping over that and continuing down the branch. And I wet the branch first before I put in color. And to begin with, I put in a light color, and then I will work my way through that. And afterwards I will go in with a darker color and slowly build up the branch. And now you can see I've painted the whole branch the first time, and then I'm mixing up a darker mix of the burnt umber, and you can add in a little bit of the indigo that will darken the color a bit. And then I go in along the edge of the branch, only one edge, the outer edge as you can see here, and then I allow the paints to flow together. And you can always use your brush to help it mix, but we don't want the same color like on the leaves. We want some wider areas or lighter areas on the branch as well. And it's the shadow and where the light hits the branch, so that looks more natural. And I have put some more indigo into my burnt umber mix, and I'm going along the edge once more just to darken up the branch some more. And here you can see how that looks quite nice. And now I have mixed up some of the blue and the quinacridone magenta, I believe, and it's a very watery mix. And you remember before I talked about some of the petals of the flower that was white, and those are the ones I paint in now, because white is never just bright white, they always have a little bit of shadow cast on them and so on. And that is what I'm using this mix for. And now we're going to paint in the background. So I have mixed up 3 colors, the indigo, the alizarin crimson, and some of the olive green. And I make sure that the flowers are completely dry. And then I wet the background with my size 6 brush. And this is quite an important step, that you wet the background first, because it will help your colors mix well on the paper. So this is very important, because it will be difficult to control if the paper is not wet. So I want to paint in the background working wet in wet. And then I begin to drop in the indigo, and you can see here how the colors begin to flow. And it's so much easier to work when the background is already wet. So, and you can control that there will be some lighter areas and some darker areas. And we will also drop in some of the other 2 colors, because we want those colors to be in the background as well, because there will be some leaves in the background and perhaps some flowers in the background, and when you drop in those colors it will seem like they are just sort of faded a little bit in the background. So, and I do want the background to be quite dark, because we're going in afterwards with our white liners. So yeah, that's important. And here you can see I've dropped in some of the olive green and the alizarin crimson. And I'm just allowing the paints to flow together. And then I'm going in with some more blue. And yeah, and I'm just helping it a little bit blend, but not too much, because we want those colors to stand out in the background. So yeah, so this is the way to do it. You wet the area you're going to paint, and then you begin to drop in the colors. In this way you will get a very nice and even and a beautiful background. You could also have started with the background and put masking fluid on your flowers and leaves, and then paint it in the background. By doing it like that, you wouldn't have to be mindful of the flowers and the leaves, as you have to be careful now. But I chose to do it this way because I believe I have another video where I do it the other way around. So And here I'm just putting in some more green color in the leaves because I wanted them to stand out a little more. And that was after we put in the background, I felt like they needed a little something. So I've also mixed a darker green, and it's a mix between the indigo and the olive green. So we are only working with these 5 colors, and you can always mix them together to darken. The dark indigo is very good to mix darker colors with the others. So, and I'm just working my way around the different leaves, and on some of the leaves I'm just painting with the olive green, and on some of the leaves I'm going in with the olive green indigo mix, just to create some variation. And now I'm wetting some of the background because I felt like it was not quite dark enough. So I wet it again, and then I can go in again with some of the indigo color. It's so much easier to work on the background once you have wet the paper to begin with, because you won't have to be careful all the time that you don't get the hard edges, because the paints just flow together. So yeah, here you can see I have darkened the background, and I will do that on the rest of the painting as well. And now I've done that, and then it's time to dry off the painting. And now I want to go in with those white liners. But I do believe the painting is quite beautiful without the white liners or the white ink pens. So if you prefer, you can just skip the last part and just keep your painting as it is. I think it's very pretty, but I just wanted to show you something else you could do. So I think it's so nice with watercolors that there's so many possibilities. So I just wanted to show you that. And I'm going in with my white Posca pen, and I think it's going to run dry soon, so because it was a little bit annoying to work with. But it was all I had for this, so I just had to use this one. So, and I'm painting in leaves, and or drawing in leaves, and I'm also drawing in some flowers with the white liners or with the Posca pen. And I think this gives quite a nice effect as well. And yeah, I do enjoy showing you different things you can do with watercolors. You don't always have to paint traditionally, you can also add in some other art materials. And yeah, I just enjoy working with watercolors like that. So, and if you're a little bit nervous about putting in this white drawings behind the flowers, you can always take a pencil and draw it in first with that. Then you're sure you're not making a mess. So, but I did that with the first flower. You can see I drew in, but with the second and third, I got more brave, and I thought, well, I'm just going to use the Posca pen without a pencil drawing first. So, but it's completely up to you what you want to do. So, just adding a little bit of a leaf down here. Now this is another flower just peeping up here in the corner of the painting. And I'm not doing too many details, just outlining. And yeah, then all that's left is to write in your name. So I really hope you enjoyed this video and found this tutorial useful. I certainly enjoy making these tutorials and share what I learn. Once I was a beginner as well, so it's so nice to be able to show others what I have learned so far. Now for the last part of the painting, I'm just going in with some splatter. And I've made up a very dark mix of the indigo, and then I wet my brush, and then you can see I use this piece of paper to protect the painting because I don't want these splatters to be all over the place. So be a little bit careful when you do this. And I'm also going to mix some light pink color. I put in a lot of water, and then I'm going to the other corner of the painting and I'm just going to drop in some splatter there as well, like that. And now I'm just dabbing off some of the color with my kitchen towel. Don't want the colors to be too strong, so they will take too much focus from the actual painting. So I'm taking off some of the color again. And yeah, that's it for this tutorial. And stick around if you want to see a little bit of my spring garden. Got lots of beautiful flowers here, so yeah. Thank you for watching. Bye, and see you again in another video. Be well.